Hey guys, and welcome. Today I wanted to do a bit of a deep dive on my favorite depictions of hell. Needless to say, hell is a concept that has a different meaning to everyone. Your answer as to what you believe hell to be is going to vary depending on your upbringing, your religious beliefs, and likely your imagination. Whether or not it exists is another conversation entirely. Um, when I was a little girl, due to my Eastern European and Catholic upbringing, the idea of hell being a physical place was reinforced time and time again. And the idea of spending eternity burning in fire and brimstone was terrifying. But even then, my favorite part of going to church was looking at all the disturbing paintings they had on the walls. As I got older and further separated myself from church, my fascination with hell and its various depictions has remained. And I'm sure I can't be the only one. So I wanted to make this video to share my favorites, whether it be literature or movies. And I hope you guys enjoy. First up is Clive Barker's The Hellbound Heart, or you may be more familiar with it as the movie Hellraiser. So, The Hellbound Heart is a novella by Clive Barker written in 1986. Barker is a master of his craft, a horror writer that will be remembered as one of the most creative, unsettling, original authors of the century. As I'm more familiar with the novella than I am with the movie, it's been years. I'm going to focus on the novella's take on hell. The book starts with an introduction to a character named Frank, a man whose obsession with hedonism has taken him down a dark path. A path where chasing earthly pleasures to the extreme does not end happily. You see, Frank commits to solving the Marchand configuration, a puzzle box which, upon being solved, is rumored to take you to a realm of sensory extremes. Unfortunately for Frank, who did not seem to have read the fine print, he ends up in a dimension that can be best described as hell. This realm is a place where pain and pleasure are intertwined. They are fused beyond human comprehension. Upon completing the puzzle, Frank is hit with both a stench and the smell of perfume as he is transported to a hellscape in which beings called Cenobites hold all of the power. Cenobites, armed with weapons, once upon a time human themselves, now mutilated, grotesque creatures with pins and grids in their skulls, their bodies hooked, tattooed, and chained. The Cenobites, just like Frank himself, once purveyors of extreme experiences, now ready to welcome him to their realm, which they do by chaining him and tearing him apart. Only he cannot die, as he is now their plaything for eternity. Frank, now their experiment, pushed to his very limits, goes on to be destroyed, mutilated, disfigured, just to have it all done to him all over again. The warped understanding of pain and pleasure does seem to rub off on Frank, as he is found saying, "Some things have to be endured, and that's what makes the pleasure so sweet." Yet, as we know, he begs to be freed from the realm he's found himself in at the first opportunity he gets.
We have such sights to show you.
Now, on to number 2, which will be Edward Lee's book, City Infernal. This extreme horror book talks about a girl named Cassie who enters a portal to hell in order to find her twin sister who took her own life. In City Infernal, hell is a huge industrial city called Mephistopolis. The sprawling city stretches endlessly. The heat is unbearable, and sulfur fires appear from the sewer grates, while the residents are trying their best to go about their lives the same way they did back on the surface. In Edward Lee's words, the moon is black and the sky is the color of blood. Screams rip down streets and through alleys, carried by malodorous winds. The people of this place trudge the sidewalks back and forth to home, to work, to stores, just as they do in any city. There's only one difference. In this city, the people are all dead. The vast metropolis is patrolled by the golems, who don't shy away from torturing the damned souls. Or you may be caught and end up hanging from gibbets and rot for eternity. The golems have no mercy, and they're at every beck and call of the ruler of the city, Lucifer himself. Lucifer resides on top of the Mephisto building, which, of course, has 666 floors. The leader of hell is a scheming, greedy ruler who's constantly thinking of ways to further his reach and cause more suffering. The constant fear of capture felt by the residents of the city, combined with a terrifying environment, makes for quite an interesting but terrifying depiction of hell. Not sure what's worse, the fear of capture and torture, or the idea that hell is a big city filled with people who must have done some terrible things to end up there. Or, a city with people in general. That's pretty terrible too. The next one is for all of my old school science fiction fans, as we'll be talking about the movie Event Horizon. This may not be a hell per se, but certainly it's a hellish dimension. And if you come after me in the comments, that's fine. I just really wanted to talk about it, okay? Okay, so Event Horizon is a science fiction / horror movie from 1997, and it follows a rescue crew that was sent to investigate a spaceship which vanished and then surprisingly reappeared 7 years later. The idea is that due to the unprecedented speed the missing spaceship was using and then disappearing, it may have brought something back from another dimension. Unfortunately, as fascinating as this other dimension looks, we're only treated to quick glimpses of it, and what we do see does appear really terrifying. And it made me think of that quick scene from the movie Talk to Me. If you've seen it, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Prior to learning about the dimension, the members of the crew begin experiencing these deeply personal hallucinations, with their fears being the main target. In turn, they become more susceptible to making mistakes, which ends up being fatal in an already treacherous environment. For some, these terrifying hallucinations have them witnessing terrible things, like seeing loved ones die, which then drives them to self-mutilation and worse. But let's take a step back and talk about the hellish dimension and what we can extrapolate from the bits we did get to see. And we see a lot of gore, mutilated bodies, akin to those in Hellraiser. We also see cannibalism, what appears to be SA, vomit, holding one's eyeballs, impaling, scarification, and really anything painful you can think of. All of this accompanied by screaming in terror, of course. The dimension appears to be extremely chaotic, violent, and hopeless.
God help us.
Written in the 14th century, this poem, The Divine Comedy, was written by Dante Alighieri, and it consists of 3 parts: Inferno, which is the hell, Purgatorio, purgatory, and Paradiso, which of course is heaven. In the poem, Dante journeys through hell as a spiritual quest in order to find his path back to God. For the purposes of this video, we'll be focusing on Inferno and its 9 descending levels. And if you're watching this video, I'm going to be adding some cool images I have found pertaining to the topic. It's especially easy to visualize the hell Dante had in mind when you think about hell as a funnel, where its tip is the closest to the center of the earth. The funnel gets smaller as the area that contains the sinners gets smaller, since the lower down the funnel you go, the sins get more serious and unforgivable. So, let's talk about the 9 circles of hell. The first circle is the limbo. This beautiful, peaceful, garden-like realm is filled with individuals whose only sin was their lack of faith in the Christian God. And although they lived honest, ethical lives where they contributed to society, they were not allowed into heaven simply due to not being baptized and living in a time when Christianity was not as prevalent. Dante spots some notable characters there: Plato, Homer, and Aristotle. They may not be in physical pain or suffer torture, but they have to live with the fact that they will never reunite with God. They will be stuck in this limbo for eternity, their existence hopeless and without purpose. The second circle is lust. In this realm, souls who are unable to control their desire are eternally tossed by fierce, swirling winds. Here, Dante meets 2 damned lovers named Paolo and Francesca, who fell in love while reading a book, which inspired them to act on their lustful feelings. Neither lover takes responsibility for their affair, and Francesca admits they were powerless in the face of love, which then cost them their lives as Francesca's husband kills her and Paolo when he finds out. Dante is so moved by their story he faints and then leaves the 2 adulterers to spend eternity in gusts of tumultuous winds as strong as their own desires once were. Circle number 3, gluttony. In this part of hell, cold rain never stops, and the sinners lie in an icy, filthy sludge, which represents their cold, disgusting selfishness. Their never-ending pursuit of hedonism has left them bloated and useless, wallowing in the very excess they once sought. With Cerberus, the monstrous 3-headed dog, constantly hovering, savagely ripping and clawing at them. Circle 4, greed. In this realm, the sinners are separated into 2 groups, the hoarders and the spenders. Both groups, consumed by wealth in different ways, sentenced to spending eternity, pushing large weights, and colliding with each other in order to represent their opposing but equally destructive behaviors. Circle number 5, wrath and sloth. Here, the angry souls fight each other in the muddy, dark waters of the Styx. Meanwhile, the resentful sink beneath the surface, stuck in silence, bubbling and choking on their own misery. Their punishments reflect how they lived. Some always lashing out, others shutting down, both trapped by the emotions they couldn't let go of. Circle 6, heresy. The 6th circle of hell is reserved for heretics, people who denied core Christian beliefs, especially the immortality of the soul. When Dante gets here, he finds a creepy cemetery inside the city of Dis, where the damned are sealed in burning tombs forever. It's symbolic. Since they rejected eternal life, they're now stuck in eternal death, fully conscious of their torment. The fire represents the destruction their beliefs caused, both to themselves and others. Circle 7, violence. The 7th circle is divided into 3 groups. The outer ring is filled with those who are violent against others. The middle circle houses souls who are violent towards themselves, and the last, inner circle, those who are destructive towards God, nature, and art. The outer ring is full of murderers and tyrants who are submerged in a river of boiling blood and fire, sentenced to extreme suffering for eternity. The middle ring is full of those who took their own lives, and they are turned into twisted, thorny trees, forever torn apart by harpies, which reflects the finality and self-destruction of their choices. Now, the inner ring is full of blasphemers, sodomites, and usurers, and they wander a burning desert under a constant rain of fire. The eighth circle of hell is meant for fraudsters, those who are cold and calculated in their deceits. The massive pit consists of 10 ditches, with each housing those guilty of different types of fraud. The first one is for panderers and seducers. These sinners are forced to march endlessly while being whipped by demons. Their punishment reflects how they manipulated others for personal gain, driving people like cattle. The second one is for flatterers. They're immersed in a river of human excrement, symbolizing the filth of their false and flattering words. In another ditch, you can find the diviners, astrologers, and magicians. They're punished by having their heads twisted backward, forced to walk backward for eternity, symbolizing their attempts to see ahead or predict the future. Now, they can only see behind. The last ditch that I'm going to mention is the one full of fraudulent counselors. These sinners are wrapped in individual flames, representing their hidden but destructive advice and manipulation. The ninth circle of hell is the very bottom of Dante's Inferno, and it's reserved for the worst of the worst, the traitors. Unlike the fiery pits most people imagine, this part of hell is completely frozen. It's a vast, icy lake called Cocytus, symbolizing how betrayal is cold and heartless. The circle is divided into 4 sections, depending on who the person betrayed: family, country, guests, or benefactors. The deeper the betrayal, the deeper they're trapped in the ice, some up to their necks, others completely frozen in place. At the very center is Satan himself, stuck waist deep in ice, forever chewing on the 3 ultimate traitors: Judas, Brutus, and Cassius. It's a bleak, silent place, showing how betrayal doesn't just hurt others, it completely freezes the soul. And on that note, we're done with Dante and his 9 circles of hell. When I first started writing this video, I had a few more entries in mind, but I didn't want to make it too long, and if you guys would like a part 2, then please let me know. Also, if you have any favorite depictions of hell of yours, please drop them down in the comments below. I would love to hear all about them. And thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you being here. Bye.